You are listening to Smart Energy Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things from clean energy and e-mobility industry. Each episode, we invite key industry leaders, government and policy decision makers, tech innovators, entrepreneurs, and more to explore what's new, what's trending, what's coming up in the industry. The podcast puts the listener to be in the know, trigger important conversations, and provide information for usable action steps. I, Santosh Khadtare, editor of Smart Energy magazine, and your host, welcome you all to the brand new episode of the Smart Energy Podcast. Today, we have on our podcast Dr. SRS Prabaharan, founder, director, and CEO at Inventus Bioenergy Private Limited. Dr. Prabaharan is a former research professor and joint director of Directorate of Research, SRB University. He carries over 3 decades of rich R&D experience in advanced energy storage and conversion. He is pioneer in energy storage technologies and has a vast experience in renowned lithium-ion cell chemistry and process formulation for mass production of cells in all form factors. He has, to his credit, several granted patents in the field of energy storage, including solid-state batteries. Inventus Bioenergy is a unique startup dealing with electrical energy storage technologies. IBE owns several unique patented process know-how and supports licensing to manufacturer. It supports clients with turnkey solutions to lithium-ion battery cell manufacturing and helps set up megawatt-hours and gigawatt-hour plants. It also offers commercial-scale manufacturing of raw materials such as pre-CAM, CAM, and liquid electrolyte. We will be speaking with him about his illustrious career as a researcher and his journey as an entrepreneur. We will discuss with him about his goal to help evolve a sustainable cell manufacturing ecosystem in India. Dr. Prabaharan, welcome to the Smart Energy Podcast.
Indeed, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here for this podcast.
Doctor, can you take our listeners through your inspiring journey starting from research to being an entrepreneur?
It's a pride and privilege for me to walk through. Yes, well, I earned my PhD from the School of Energy Sciences, Madurai Kamaraj University, between 1988 and 92, where I had started pursuing my research career in the year 1988, to be exact, investigating on solid state batteries with the solid electrolyte as my main PhD thesis dissertation. Later, I was hired by Sikri Karaikudi Central CSER Lab, which is one of the electrochemical labs in the country. And during the time, we researched on the cell chemistry and the raw materials which can get into the long-lasting lithium-ion cells, which is lithium manganese oxide, lithium nickel oxide, and lithium cobalt oxide. So then later on, I was promoted to the title called research scientist and received an Young Scientist Award with the project to investigate on development of liquid electrolyte for lithium-ion batteries. From 1996 until 2012, I was in Malaysia, worked for various organizations. Although I started with the University of Malaya as a postdoctoral researcher or postdoctoral fellow, I moved to University Technology Petronas as a lecturer, an academician as a matter of fact, and come researcher. Since then, I've been an academician, then moved to Multimedia University as a senior lecturer with a promotion. Then later, in 2005, I moved to University of Nottingham, Malaysia campus, hired as an associate professor. And later in 2009 and 10, I was promoted to a full professor, which is one of the youngest professor promoted at the age of 43. All these places where naturally I had my teaching and research blended together. Keeping Malaysia as my base while working there, I traveled abroad as on invitation. Then I had an opportunity to really serve for Southern University of Baton Rouge in the US as a technology consultant for the Army research project. And later I received an Erasmus Mundus Award conferred by the European Union, invited by the university in Amiens called the University Pierre Jules Verne as a visiting professor in 2012. And later I went to Japan as a visiting professor to work for the Hook University in Sendai. So after all these assignments, came back to India for good, keeping the entrepreneurial thought in mind. I was looking for an opportunity to really get into startup, which happened only in the year 2020 during the COVID period. So we took COVID lockdown as an advantage. And later I thought that it's the right time for me to start my full time journey because of the various government announcements towards EV in India. But there was a great vacuum in the country in terms of cell manufacturing know how and also the raw materials. So naturally, we thought that our company is the one and only company in India who are offering the indigenously developed cell manufacturing technology and formulation together with the raw material manufacturing know-how like cathode active materials like nickel, manganese, cobalt cathodes and lithium iron phosphate like LFP and also the new generation cathode called lithium manganese iron phosphate which is LMFP, and all these things are bundled the novel know-how, and also we support the companies with turnkey solutions. So with that offer we entered into the market, and we positioned our company during this period very short span of time that it's a known company for not only for Indian audience but also the global audience as a matter of fact.
Thank you, Doctor, for taking us through your amazing and inspiring journey. It is an accepted notion that scientific research and entrepreneurship does not go hand in hand, which is not applicable in your case. What was the motivation for you to start your own venture named Inventus Bioenergy?
Well, first of all, I must inform the audience, readers of Smart Energy magazine, as well as the Indian audience who are going to really know about this podcast, that we have recently renamed our company, namely Inventus Battery Energy Technology, with the same IBE as our brand, instead of earlier bioenergy. So, kindly be informed about it. Well, due to various climate protocols towards achieving net zero carbon, the world has recognized one of the ways to get rid of IC engines and transform the mobility sector to be a e-mobile or e-mobility community aiming at achieving zero emission. Henceforth, what happened, the battery EVs or BEVs is one of the profound finest approaches to deal with, and in tune with that, India's policy shift towards EVs. The announcement made via PLI, ACC, we call it as the production linked incentive through the advanced cell chemistry, which is ACC, announced by the Niti Aayog to encourage local enterprises to start manufacturing cells in India with the 60% localization target. Whereas India has almost, I would say, 0% localization at this point in time. Yet, indigenous cell manufacturing technology is a biggest issue actually, because China has ruled the world to the tune of 85% dominance in terms of technology, in terms of raw material supply chain, etc. India has no cell manufacturing technology announced as yet, as a matter of fact, and this is a kind of a real vacuum. Besides this manufacturing part, India imported almost, I would say, several billion cells from China, amounting to several $billion as a foreign reserve. So, which means India is producing batteries, they are buying cells and assembling batteries in India for various purposes. But the truth is, these cells are getting imported from China, and there are a lot of challenges importing cells from China in terms of getting the approval from the Bureau of Indian Standard, maintaining the quality, and so many small players assembling batteries for various B2B suppliers, they are all stranded with this kind of a bureaucratic approach. And therefore, in a nutshell, I would say that there is no concrete technology in India for cell manufacturing, and there is a huge vacuum. So our IBE is able to basically fill this gap, not only in terms of battery making technology, or cell making technology, we also have the essential raw material manufacturing technology as well, such as the cathode active materials, the battery grade product of cathode active materials like NMC, LFP, and LMFP, and of course any other material like LCO or LMO. Any, you name any cathode, we have the technology to make it in commercial scale. So that's where our difference lies actually. Besides that, we have our electrolyte technology formulation. So we would like to basically expand our technologies to various Indian players to help them start manufacturing their powders and the electrolyte, so that they can serve for the Indian demand of 50 gigawatt hour to begin with. So this is very, very important for the country, and we are in a very important juncture, and therefore IBE has a lot to play in terms of in meeting in India's battery requirement.
Thank you, Doctor, for using Smart Energy Podcast platform for making an important announcement regarding the name change of your venture from Inventus Bioenergy to Inventus Battery Energy Technologies Private Limited, and also to share the motivation and the vision with which you have launched your new venture. Now, taking our discussion to the core of Inventus Battery Energy, can you tell us more about the innovative all solid state batteries technology developed by you, the key features of the technology that makes it disruptive technology?
The meaning of solid state, or the meaning of all solid state, is that in the present conventional lithium ion batteries or cells are having electrolyte as liquid, and as a result of this liquid, the liquid is made of organic solvents, and they are flammable, and it has a flash point. With presence of a liquid electrolyte which is getting into the flash point, and the fuel, the oxygen being released from the cathode during the thermal runaway, is basically would help to really ignite the situation, because the fuel, like the oxidant is O2, easily it can catches fire and explodes. It is like a time bomb, as a matter of fact. Now if you happen to remove this liquid electrolyte by a solid electrolyte, and the solid electrolyte does offer the property as similar to liquid electrolyte property at room temperature, then it's a big game changer. If you take anything left to right, from anode to cathode, in between, everything is solid, because anode is solid, your separator is solid, your electrolyte is solid, and your cathode is solid. So which means all the component in a single cell is solid, and hence the name solid state. Now what we have achieved, there are quite a number of firms globally, companies are working to develop and commercialize the solid state batteries. We are one among them. That's the first success for us. How it is disruptive, let me tell you. Our product is trying to be more robust in terms of accommodating the lithium metal in the form of a cassette. What we call it as a cassette is that we have developed our own ceramic solid electrolyte, giving the beautiful electrolytic property which is demanded by the world, on par with the liquid electrolyte. This cassette is basically a element of a battery. It's still not a cell. The cathode can be anything. So what we have done is, if you want to really go for LFP on the other side, you can make a cell at any point in time. If you want to go for the air, this is the O2, which is called lithium air battery. The cassette can be used for that purpose. Or the new another cathode being pursued very intensively abroad, or in many countries, as a matter of fact, it's sulfur. So the sulfur cathode can also be coated. So which means one technology for the present and the future technologies, and therefore this is something like great product for not only for India but also for the world. And Niti Aayog, Professor VK Saraswat, who is the member secretary, who was a former director general of DRDO, who is a deciding authority in Niti Aayog for the battery technology, he and his team, Dr. Naveen and Rajnath ji, basically sat with us for a interrogation on this technology, and they have given a testimony of this technology and their support to IBE, and that support letter is uploaded in our website, for viewers can really download and read how we are recognized by Niti Aayog. So that's a kind of a thing that our technology has created an impact. So this is what the whole thing is all about. And the disruptive thought is all about creating the cassette kind of a lithium metal along with the solid electrolyte.
It is great to know about the kind of work you and Inventus Battery Energy is doing in India, and that Niti Aayog has recognized and taken note of your work. Moving on to your work on electric vehicles, can you explain what is region braking in EVs? How does the Inventus R extender technology address the issue of range anxiety in electric vehicles?
Very important question, as a matter of fact, and glad to answer this. As you all know, when you drive any vehicle, braking is part and parcel of the whole fleet, especially in the electric vehicle, I would say. It's powered by a motor. So, motor is powered by the batteries. When you brake, what happens is there is a small kickback or reverse EMF being produced in the motor itself, and that kickback is realized in terms of very short span of the electromotive force, and that electromotive force is nothing but the voltage which is getting wasted inadvertently. Now what happens is, when you are able to basically tap this energy through the braking, it helps battery lifetime to be extended, for instance. So capturing this energy is something like capturing something in a quickest possible time, because braking is very instantaneous. Once braking happens, the vehicle will be stalled. If you really take it this average of driving the car with hundreds of times of braking, this energy, entire energy, can be easily tapped. So Inventus battery technology group has developed new technology called supercapacitor assisted braking system, whereby what happens is, during the braking, because the fact is very important, the braking happens instantaneously, and this energy is available during just a few seconds of time. Now this energy cannot be tapped into the battery at all, because battery is a slow charging media. So what happens now, our technology is something very different. Now it is under the great consideration with the Automobile Research Association of India. Well, how does it work? We have taken the supercapacitor, which is something like a cousin brother of lithium ion battery, I would say. We use our power electronics techniques to tap the energy from doing the braking and putting it onto the supercapacitor. And when you throttle the accelerator, the energy from the supercapacitor will go as a pulse power to the motor without spoiling the battery's energy. And so what happens is, this mechanism helps to extend the range of the batteries. The battery's lifetime will be extended to 1.5 times. So this is something very important for the energy hunger world. And Inventus regenerative braking via DC-DC converters is able to basically tap this energy to the supercapacitor, and will make the energy to be available for the next immediate pickup.
Nice to know about the simple yet cost effective system that combines battery and supercapacitors that can address the range anxiety associated with electric vehicles. Moving on, tell us more about the development of industrial scale battery grade cathode active materials using the one pot approach, and what key challenges get addressed by this technology development.
In a cell, the cam or cathode occupies 23%. Anybody can make the cathode, but making it to be battery grade is something which is very important, which means you need to create the building block in such a way that it withstands the number of times the lithium ion being removed and inserted during the discharge and charge, and that is making the material to be a battery grade cathode active material. To make this battery grade, there are variety of methods. IBE has developed many methods, which is the conventional solid state route and one pot approach. What does it mean, one pot? One pot is nothing but, when you talk about the making cost of this cam or the cathode active material, it is basically an energy intense process. The solid state has several pre preparation methods. To say, for instance, you are making the NMC 811, it starts with precipitation reaction without lithium. After the precipitate is obtained, mix with lithium carbonate like lithium hydroxide and make them blended, then put it into the furnace to make them fuse and get the final powder. Instead, you take everything in one pot. That means you put everything as one pot like a biryani. One pot in a layman language is that putting all the raw material in such a fashion to make the final product out. So that's called one pot. And that one pot yields a lot of advantages in terms of energy cost, product yield, specific capacity, cost, and offering the environmental friendliness. In terms of challenge lies with the capital investment, which would be 5% higher than the conventional process. However, raw material supply wouldn't be a problem because of the unconventional starting materials other than the conventional starting material. But your return of investment would be much faster. Your tap density is something very good with the one pot, and therefore you are able to basically achieve the required capacity within the very less amount of material.
Doctor, your approach of making complicated technology terms simple by giving a biryani analogy to one pot approach makes you a genius. One of the other technologies patented by Inventus is the lithium manganese ferrophosphate LMFP cathode for e-mobility application. What are the key properties of LMFP that makes it better than LFP? What are its advantages?
Lithium iron phosphate is something like a material of choice for countries like India because our summer temperature is towards Delhi and north is something like touching almost 45 to 50 degrees centigrade at times. And this temperature is something which is very, very affecting factor for the battery performance because when battery is functioning, a cell is charging or discharging, intrinsically they are getting heated up. So when it comes to energy density offered by LFP is very less. LFP provides 170 milliampere hour per gram, or practically it offers 155 to 160 depending upon the method of production. Whereas NMC provides almost 200 milliampere hour per gram. Now the energy density is nothing but the mileage. So to increase the mileage or increase the energy density, without sacrificing or compromising the property of LFP, high thermal stability material. Naturally, we need to figure out the way how to basically retain these properties in a material having Fe or iron, but yet it should really go up to at least 4 volts. This is where the thought process came. When lithium iron phosphate and lithium manganese phosphate, there are two materials although present. Technically, lithium manganese phosphate will not be a standalone cathode material. Now, taking lithium manganese phosphate and lithium iron phosphate, mix them in such a way, it using our own proprietary approach, making it to be lithium manganese iron phosphate LMFP. The specific capacity doesn't get altered, whereas because of the presence of manganese, the manganese will have a high redox property. So it is able to provide 4.1 volt compared to LFE's 3.3. So now the magic is that same specific capacity, but still your voltage is compared to 3.3, 4.1 is almost 800 millivolt. So you multiply this 4.1 with the specific capacity, your energy density will go up to 550 watt hour per liter approximately, whereas your LFP provides 325 watt hour per liter. So which means there is a huge difference between the energy density as a result of adding Mn and becoming a new generation cathode active material, which is LMFP, which still inherits all the best qualities of lithium iron phosphate, yet it is environment friendly. Mn is available widely, it is not expensive, and it is a plug and play type of cell. That means you can replace LFE with the LMFE to create more energy dense cells and with inheriting all the good qualities of LFE. Inventus battery energy technology IBE has created a wonderful technology which with a single plateau approach you are able to basically make this material to be a high voltage material on par with NMC kind of a material. Global LMFE market size is amounting to almost $1,300 million in by 2025. Correspondingly, the demand equivalent to this cost I have mentioned is almost 150,000 tons. So naturally, world is looking forward to have this technology, and we have this advantage, and we have this wonderful making technology as well for the Indian market as well as for the global market. And if you happen to see our data, you will get impressed. And there are quite a number of Indian players like Reliance, Epsilon, and Rajesh Exports. These players are talking to us right now. We have a great year ahead.
Going forward, how do you see the technology landscape for batteries in EV and ESS applications evolving, and which technologies will gain traction and prominence?
If you look at the EV market by 2025 versus ESS versus electronics applications, it's very huge in terms of demand by gigawatt hour, and the CAGR is for certain technologies is basically like LFP based is going at the rate of approximately 31% over the next 5 years, from starting from 20 to 25. And so this growth is tremendously high compared to any other technology for that matter. Now, when you talk about ESS, actually, there are alternative sustainable technologies for the storage applications. The redox flow batteries, iron ion batteries, aluminum ion batteries, aluminum air batteries, magnesium air batteries, especially the vanadium redox flow batteries, are considered to be one of the finest player for ESS application, other than the conventional lithium ion batteries. So this is naturally a easy approach going forward compared to the ESS applications. So, in a nutshell, let me put it point blank here. In terms of the cost per the dollar per kilowatt hour for the lithium ion battery right now, it's something which is not that easy to accommodate for ESS application. Whereas EVs, obviously, this is we have no other choice. But there are technologies which can really circumvent the existing pitfalls of lithium ion cost factor.
Thank you for enlightening us with the latest developments in battery technology. Finally, what next for you and IBE?
We are looking forward to have a very great year ahead for IBE, as a matter of fact, because we have set a benchmark and made our company known to the world and known to India through various forums, meetings, and social media platforms, contacting various players. Niti Aayog is one of the nodal agency who recognized us. Likewise, there are many things are happening, and many good companies who aspire to become supply chain leaders in India meet our Indian demand, and also the to cater to the needs of the world. Because world's energy by 2020, the demand is in terms of I would say 1300 gigawatt hour, almost 1.3 terawatt hour. So which is just for the battery energy alone. So which means a huge opportunity out there. So it is a high time for the Indian industry to really come forward and throw away all their various hiccups. Their confidence level must go up. Their investment strategies must change. They should basically see that what is going to happen after 3 years instead of worrying about their return of investment right now. So you need to basically be a front runner or first mover advantage. All these things are basically will reap the benefit at the later stage. So IB has its own verified international standard technologies. They should basically they must make use of the opportunity in order to really respect the Atmanirbhar Bharat, to take the technology into the right market, because our one of the policies of IBE is such that whoever comes forward to take the technology, we handhold the customers to see the POC, proof of concept. Our job is done only then. And we also help them independent evaluation of the product they make, be it is a cell or the powder or the electrolyte, getting it verified by OEMs. All such support we provide. So we call it as turnkey solution, end to end, and hand holding. And I believe that we have a lot to play. And this moving forward, we have a great future ahead for this company. So we can play a well-rounded role to Indian battery ecosystem.
Moving beyond an initial discovery requires a lot of confidence and a major investment of time, effort, and money. But that's not enough to ensure that a company will do well. Timing is also critical. While countries across the world are shifting to sustainable technologies to achieve net zero by 2070, renewable energy and electric vehicles are going to play an important role in this transition. Taking this into consideration, the market is likely to witness tremendous growth and demand for batteries in future. Companies like Inventus Battery Energy, with their innovative approach and focus on research, are going to have a great future. With this, I thank Dr. Prabaharan and appreciate your time for joining us on the podcast, enlightening our listeners with the latest developments and upcoming opportunities in battery technology.
It's a pleasure being here, Santosh. Thanks for being part of it. And I'm sure that this is going to take us a long way. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Here we come to the end of this insightful episode of Smart Energy Podcast. We invite all our listeners to get involved and join in the conversation. If you have any question or want more information on any specific topic discussed today, you can drop a mail to me on santosh.smartenergy@gmail.com. Ask questions and keep the conversation going. And yes, if you like the podcast, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and recommend it to your industry colleagues. Thank you for tuning.